What is up, my little Deinos? Vepsis here, your coach of the Helsinki Dragons, and I'm here for my UBL D-League Season 1 Week 9 battle versus SiNxRealize and his team being the Toronto Tyrantrums. His roster you can see right before your screen, and I'm gonna be going through the team of 6 that I'm gonna be bringing for this final match of the regular season before the playoffs will be happening, where I'm gonna be heading to, but unfortunately my opponent will not be able to make to the playoffs. So this is gonna be his final of the match of the whole season for himself. But when it comes to my team, I'm gonna be bringing Landorus-Therian with Modest Nature, holding Crasnium C with Earth Power, Crash Knot, Sludge Wave and Stealth Rocks. And the idea with this set is just to function as my Stealth Rocker for this matchup, while at the same time functioning as a lure for the Roto-Was if he happens to bring it, which I thought would be likely bring to subject my Landorus-Therian majority of the times, unless I would be having gravity up, or if I happen to bring this kind of set that I'm doing, cause with Modest Nature I actually do OCO a standard Roto-Was with a Crasnium C from full without any prior damage, so that's pretty cool if I'm able to pull that one off. And that's gonna be basically what we are doing with the Landorus-Therian this week. We have enough speed to outspeed a Adamant Mega Altaria or a Adamant Mamoswine, and therefore also outspeeding base hundreds of Mew or Shaman if they are defensive variant and not offensive, and I have a lot of speed on it. So that is gonna be Landorus-Therian. The second member of the team is gonna be Cramble, the Lumiki. She's gonna be making her debut in the UBL D-League after picking it up from free agency. She's gonna be fully physically defensive, relaxed nature, minus speed in nature with 0 IVs on speed as well, just to make sure that Chayoball does as least as damage as possible if it ever comes into play versus the Stakataka. But that's not gonna be her primary role. The primary role for Cramble this week is just to be able to wall all of the other physical attacking threats, barring Stakataka or Mew with Gunk Shot. And basically the primary mode that I really need her for is the Mamoswine, cause I'm not bringing Rotom Heat or Bronzong to wall the Mamoswine, cause I have to respect the fact that it could carry Snow Nets or Knockoff. So I figured that instead of bringing one of those to deal just that thing and still having to worry about the coverage move, I'll bring Cramble that can wall that thing and a lot of other physical attacking threats that he could potentially bring into this matchup. And the moveset of what we are running on it is gonna be Play Rough, Close Combat, Rest and Sleep Talk with Leftovers and Intimidate as its ability. I opted to go with Close Combat over something like Low Kick, which could also have base 120 power versus Stakataka and versus Mamoswine as well, cause how heavy they are. But I wanted to have the consistent damage in close combat versus the everything else, instead of having very heavily based on move like low kick from my opponent's weight, what the mons are waiting. So I prefer have the consistently with the damage output instead on it. Then the third member of the team is gonna be Greninja with Expert Belt holding, and it's gonna be Timid Nature, enough speed to outspeed 2 Cannon and Incineroar, even if they happen to be Jolly Choice Scarf, which I have seen him doing multiple times before throughout this season. And we are running Water Shuriken, Surf, Dark Pulse and Ice Beam as his attacking moves, and Water Shuriken is there mainly just in case for Stakataka having a Trick Room up, so I can finish it off with those priority mode that I have on Greninja in itself with the Water Shuriken. And that is gonna be the Greninja. Then we have Forgotten, the Kyurem-Black, also with Expert Belt, Modest Nature, enough speed to outspeed Mega Altaria, and the Mamoswine even if they happen to be plus speed natures themselves. And then we are running Ice Beam, Earth Power, Shadow Ball and Roost. I thought about having Substitute over Shadow Ball, and that's what I originally had, because it's able to force a lot of things out and get the Substitute up, and potentially avoid some sort of statuses as well. But I opted to have Shadow Ball instead over the Substitute, just to be able to two-shot the Mew, even if it happens to be max HP, unless he has PDF investment or happens to have Calm Mind up or Assault Vest or anything like that, which would mean that I would be avoid to get the two-shot otherwise. So that is gonna be Kyurem-Black this week. Then we have Bob, the Alola Mug. Of course, Bob needs to come this week. Very standard, the recycle set. Nothing too special there. Especially defensive variant. Just so that it can wall all the special attacking threats that my opponent possesses on his draft. And functioning as a wall core between Gramble as a physical wall. And this thing pairing as a special wall to go along with it. And then we are gonna be having 4 attacks Mega Gallade with Dual Stab as Drain Punch and Psycho Cut respectively, and then the coverages moves will be Axe Scissor and Poison Jab. I opted to have Poison Jab over Ice Punch so I can hit Mega Altaria a little bit harder than I would be with Ice Punch, and Axe Scissor is there just in case for the Mew to have a consistent hard hitting move. If he happens to be C-move or he happens to be Colbur Berry on it, because I have dual Dark types and Mega Gallade having access to Knockoff, which is very well known about it. So I figured Axe Scissor would be a lot consistent and better move to hit it with and two-shot it unless he's fully physically defensive. And if it happens to be that, I have my dual Dark types and especially Greninja can deal with it, or my Kyurem-Black with Shadow Ball. So that is gonna be the team of 6. Also the Gallade is just enough for the base 100s. I didn't go max speed jolly with it to speed tie with Gengar. I have Alola Mug to deal with the Gengar if it happens to show up. But now, that is gonna be the team. Let's go and see how the battle is gonna be turning out. My likely lead going to this matchup before seeing what kind of team of 6 he will bring was actually Landorus-Therian, especially if he would have to be happy to bring the Roto Was that I was heavily prepared for with the Landorus-Therian holding the Grassnium C. But as you can tell from his team of 6, he did not bring that mode at all. So my C mode on my Landorus-Therian is completely useless, as I can tell, at least for now. But I opted to lead with it anyways, cause half of his team is relatively good matchup for my Landorus-Therian, and if he happens to lead with Gengar or Mew or Mamoswine, I have my other responses to them in the back, which I can go into if that would be the case. As it happens to be, as he's gonna be leading off with his Gengar, and I had no reason not to go into Bob, the Alola Mug, because it should be able to beat this 1v1, as he goes for Hidden Power Ice, and that reveals to be Choice Spec set. And even though it did relatively good damage, Bob is a fucking champ, and it's gonna be beat that thing 1v1 as he tries to swap out. But we pack the Pursuit, and we are able to kill it from there. And now he goes into the Mamoswine, which is offensively probably the biggest threat versus me. Until I know also, of course, if the Mew happens to be offensive or not, which I have seen him been doing. But now I have to address the threat in front of me and go into my Gramble, the Lumiki, which has to take Icicle Grass out of a Mamoswine. And if this is Adamant Life Orb, it's gonna do shit ton of damage. And that is definitely a Adamant Life Orb Mamoswine. But Lumiki, she is a fucking champ, and she took that hit really well. And we do pack the close combat, and here I was kind of hoping that I would have opted to go with low kick instead of close combat, because now I have to actually drop my defenses, which means that this Mamoswine can now not only live barely, which was always going to be the case at this point, but because my defenses go off or below 1 stage, he can now revenge kill me. But the plus side of things, this is that he only has 1 hit in him. So as long as he connects his move as he does, unfortunately, I'm sorry Lumiki that you have to go down like this, but I'm really proud of you. You did what you barely needed to basically do, which was neutralizing this threat being the Mamoswine, and it's gonna be a double down. And here, I just go into Kyurem-Black as we are sitting in a position that he had Hitmontop, Incineroar, Taka and Mew remaining, and I figured that Kyurem-Black matches up best versus the majority of them and can hit almost all of them super effectively, barring the Hitmontop. And he went to his Taka, not happen to be Focus Sash or a Shocker Berry, so this is a very dead Taka. That thing got blown back with a modest XP belt Earth Power from my Kyurem-Black. And that thing was out of the picture. If he happened to be Shocker Berry or the Focus Sash and went for the Trick Room, I always had the Greninja in the back, so I wasn't too much worrying about that to be the case. And Here it just goes into Mew. I go for the Shadow Ball, and this reveals to be very bulky Mew with some SPDF investment because he's able to avoid the 2-shot, which is a little bit annoying because he also happens to carry Toxic, which means that he can potentially start Roost Stalling me or Soap Boy Stalling me, or if he happens to have Protect as well, or just Protect in general, he can start racking out this damage. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna stay in here. I'm gonna go into Bob, and I'm gonna go for the knockoff right here, as he reveals to have the Protect. So here I'm just gonna be here that, okay, I'm gonna be going for the knockoff. I don't care if you are forced to swap out. I would rather take care of one of the items on the remaining of the mons that you have in Incineroar or the Hitmontop, and I can identify what item they were, as I get a crit. And even as a crit that really didn't do too much on the Incineroar credit, it is resisted because he's part Dark type and he got the Intimidate off. But either way, that looks to be some sort of like a bulky pivot variant with holding the Papa Berry, or was holding it. And now he goes for the Will-O-Wisp, thinking that okay, it's going to be able to burn the Mug or potentially Landorus-Therian. And he's probably like, oh, this is great. I burned the physical attacker in Landorus-Therian, and I can go into Hitmontop and had the Intimidate off, which normally I'm like, okay, I can understand this. But I have the Earth Power, which I'm gonna be pulling out of my ass and putting on this Hitmontop and doing a lot of damage to it. And also snatching a special defense drop, which is pretty lucky because that's only 10% chance. But I happen to get that, which means that he is now quite easily in a range of another Earth Power. But before that, I thought, okay, I'm gonna go for the Stealth Rocks here, because he doesn't have access to any move to hit me super effectively. He cannot Toxic me either because I'm burned. So I go for the Stealth Rocks, and this looks like a godly play for me, because he went for the Protect, revealing this thing also having Protect besides Mew, to rack out some damage on me and getting turn of Leftovers recovery. But that really didn't work out for him, because I found a turn to get up Stealth Rocks, and then I still blow it back with the Earth Power. So that worked out a lot better than I could have hoped for, all the scenarios combined with. But it just happened to be the case that I wanted to bring a special Landorus-Therian this week, and he just didn't see it coming, and it paid a big dividends to me in that sense. And here, the Mew is coming in yet again, and I'm like, oh great. Not that I'm worried about this thing, because I have Bob right here, which I go into, and him having Toxic and Protect and Roost so far, I don't think he can really touch me. So technically, as long as Bob is alive and I don't allow it getting burned by the Incineroar, it can beat this Mew. But it can take a little bit of time, depending how these turns is going to happen and how persistent my opponent happens to be by keeping that Mew alive, which I don't blame him necessarily for doing. That's his only way out of this. So I'm gonna be going for the knockoffs here. I went for the Pursuit as he went for the Protect. And then I actually go, I go for the Poison Chap instead, just in case if the Incineroar came in and I would have been able to do more damage to it, potentially get a poison off on it, or if the Mew stayed in, I got a poison on it, because I knew eventually I would like to snatch the poison on the Mew and start wearing it down in that sense too, and get rid of its leftovers with Konoko. But he goes into his Incineroar. I know he was going for Flare Blitz or U-turn. I knew my Landorus-Therian is always gonna be the play, but he goes for the U-turn, goes back into the Mew, and I'm like, oh great, we are back at square one. But I'm still in a good position, because he's not getting really anywhere here, because his Incineroar used this one time only, coming back into Rocks yet again, because if he happens to dare to come in yet again and take any kind of attacking move, he potentially dies straight up there. So he kind of used that card already. So now we get into position where Bob and Mew are in a little bit of stalemate here. And here I'm at first kind of doing my best of getting rid of these leftovers, and then snatching also a poison with my Poison Chap eventually. So that is gonna be what I'm going for here, as in following turns. And eventually I should be able to snatch the Poison Chap poison, because it's a 30% chance. You would think you get it eventually. But it's gonna take a couple of turns before we get into that point. So it's gonna take a while. Because he's gonna be going for the Protect here. And I believe now I go for the knockoff. just to be able to eliminate the leftovers as he goes for the roost. When he was barely already at full, but he apparently wanted to be exactly at full with the roost to be able to take the next hit as rare as possible. And he does take the knockoff okay-ish, and he's gonna take it now on a lot better because now he lost his leftovers, so my knockoff becomes the base 65 power move now and won't be able to two-shot this thing unless I finally get a poison on this. And I believe now I do fortunately get the poison, and Alola obviously won't care about the SiNxRealize because we are part poison type and Bob is a fucking champ. So we are in a position that, okay, well, this Mew is now lost his form of recovery through leftovers, so the only form of recovery outside of that is going to be Roost, which he won't have forever. He only has at start at 16, and I don't know how many he has at this point. I have honestly no idea how many he has used at this point, but I'm gonna be clicking knockoff here, and for whatever reason, in a hindsight, and even throughout this battle, I kinda have this VePotato moment from giving a shout out from last week's intro that I happened to make. And for those who didn't really get the point of me calling myself VePotato and the potato even being a thing, shoutouts to look at the handsome fellow on the on the webcam right now. Who is that handsome fellow? I haven't seen you around for a bit. God damn, but anyways, the whole thing about me calling myself like I do with like as a joke and having this with Frosted is that while I may seem or I may come out as a very smart person, especially when it comes to draft leagues, and I get a lot of praise how good of a player I am, and I want to think I'm a relatively smart person in itself, that I have a good common sense on things. I don't have a high pedigree in regards to school or anything like that. I have my high school pedigree and all that stuff, but I'm not necessarily a miracle worker in that sense, and I'm not smart enough to figure out things like how to fix word hunger or anything like that, or be a teacher or anything like that, which I could see come out of. So this is kind of where my inner VePotato and Iris Emerald's favorite superhero comes into fruition, and you can see it cause I don't know why it takes me so long finally doing what I'm doing right now, which is that I go into my Greninja on a turn that I expect him to go for either Protect or for a Roost that he was basically forced to go as long as he was around 50% of health or lower. So finally I put myself in a position and I can paddle myself in the back that, you know what, it took you 5 or 6 turns to figure this simple play out, but good job VePotato, you went into your faster dog type, which is also a special attacker in Greninja, and start dog pulsing this thing. I should be able to always do like 60% I wanna say to this thing, and we definitely do like a 60%, and I also get to be lucky and bad, as that's the flinch, but I think I just finally sped up the progress that it was in Albo, that the Mew is gonna go down and it's not gonna be snatching a kill. Even if he was able to go for a Roost, I had the chance to kill it afterwards, because I was doing more damage than he was able to gain. Or if he goes for Toxic, obviously he would have just died there to the poison recall. Anyway, so Greninja does manage to get the kill on the Incineroar because the poison actually got the kill on the Mew instead of the Dark Pulse. Bob was still able to get to the kill on the Mew in itself. So that is gonna be the game, the final game in the regular season for ourselves and to our opponent SiNxRealize. Good game to him. He was very vocal throughout the EMs as we were scheduling that he and his front office did not like the matchup versus me. So he was kind of asking me, can I play as blindfolded or something like that, just to, you know, just the sake of it, because he's not feeling the most confident to win this game. But I was like, nah, I'm not gonna be starting to pull that shit at this point. I just want to go out there and have a solid game and just get this out of the way, and not, I guess, not get putting any risk to my undefeated record that I'm able to have, cause we are able to actually snatch a higher differential win that I have been able to do throughout the whole season. So far I always won either 3-0 or a 4-0, but now we were able to win in 5-0 fashion. If I would have just run low kick on Crample, there was a chance for a 6-0, but it's not a big deal. As long as we won, this means that we were able to do something that is very hard to do in any draft league, and that is to go undefeated, which is a very it's a proud accomplishment for me, and something that I was starting to aim for if it was ever even possible once the season got further and further, and I thought that, oh, things are going really well, I might as well try to go for it just to secure number 1 seed for sure, and just sake of it, try to go for the undefeated season, just to challenge myself in that regard before playoffs, and we were able to do that, so that's great for our sake. Good game yet again to SiNxRealize. Make sure to check out his channel. He's been very consistent and active regards to his uploads. He always managed to upload on every single Friday, also his team builder, and always get to upload his battles on time. So shoutouts to him. He's been very consistent in that regard, and he managed to have a pretty solid season. He was able to get 3 wins and then lose 6 times, and it was a season that was going to be hard for him, and I would think he's still relatively new to the draft league format. But hey, if you're watching this, things will only get better from you. It's all about just learning, it's all about experience, and I'm sure you're gonna be doing a lot better in your future seasons, either in the UBL D-League Season 2, if that ever comes into play, or if you happen to make to the main league, or whatever league you're gonna be taking part of afterwards. So shoutouts to him. Make sure to check out his channel as well, and shoutouts to SlackOut for the awesome work with the graphics yet again, buddy. I really appreciate the work you do every single week for me to help with this kind of stuff, and shoutouts to Iris Emerald for recording the game for me this week as well. But this is gonna be it for us this week, and in case you don't want to get spoiled from the other games regards to the playoff race, I want to thank you for watching, and probably better for you to now tune out and go and see those, so you won't be spoiled who was able to actually get into the 4th seed. And yeah, I'm gonna be saying it right now that I do know my playoff opponent for semifinals, and that is gonna be Ashermore and the Appalachian Thunder, who I faced in week 2, and that is gonna be interesting matchup. I did have a little bit different team than or my roster back then in Megalopan, Starmie and Weezing instead of what I have right now. So it's gonna be interesting if that is gonna come into play, and how is that gonna influence his building and my building alone. And for me, I'm very looking forward to that game. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that and being hyping up that that was one of the better games of this season. And hopefully that's going to be the case in on the semi-finals, and I'm hopeful that we can beat Ashermore yet again and move to the finals. But this is game of Pokemon. Everything can happen. I can get out-prepped, I can get outplayed, I can get hacked the shit off. A lot of things can go wrong, and I might lose on the wrong type. You never know. I have been in this position before, that I have had a very strong regular season, and then either in finals or semi-finals something has gone wrong for me. But hopefully I can secure myself the final spot and give myself chance for the 7th title in my career. But before then, before we get into the semi-finals match versus Ashermore, thank you all for watching yet again. Stay tuned for more UBL D-League content. Make sure to check out all of the courses down below in the description and their final games of the regular season, and who were actually able to make to the playoffs besides myself. But that's gonna be all for me. Thank you all yet again for watching, and until next time, I'm gonna be seeing you guys later.